Question 2, determine if each number is real or imaginary. Then plot the numbers on the real number line and the imaginary numbers on the imaginary number line, indicating the color you chose to plot it with. So the colors are already here for us. So the first thing we want to do is we want to take the square root of 4. We can always take the square root of any positive number, so that is going to be a real number. And simplified, the square root of 4 is 2. So we're going to plot that one in red. And so we have the square root of 4 is 2. All right, so next one we have negative square root of 4. We're going to do that one in blue. Okay, so we can take the square root of a positive number, and it doesn't matter that negative. If that negative is outside, it's still okay. So this is still a real number. And now we have negative square root of 4. Well, it's the same thing as the square root of 4, just with a negative sign in front of it. So this would be negative 2. So we are going to plot that on the imaginary axis. And we're going to plot it in the right place, which is negative 2. Right there. All right, now, the difference between this one here and this one here is where that negative is placed. This one, the negative is outside the radical, so you're saying I'm taking the negative square root of 4. And on this one, the square root is above, or the square root is around that negative. That negative is under the radical sign, and so this is saying I'm taking the square root of a negative 4. I'm taking the square root of a negative number. So this is actually an imaginary number, and this is where that I comes in. So we take that negative out, and then we take the square root of the number that's left over. So the square root of 4 is 2, and that I just means that we actually took the square root of a negative number. So we're going to place that on the axis, on the imaginary axis. Actually, we're going to put this one in the right spot again, because that should be negative 2 right here. All right, and the next one we're going to put that in green. That's an imaginary number. So anything that says real should be on the real axis, and anything that says imaginary should be on the imaginary axis. So 2i is actually going to go right here on that imaginary axis. All right, so now we're going to move to this one. We have negative square root of 9. So again, because the negative is outside the radical sign, that's going to be a real number, and it's going to be negative 3. So we're going to put negative 3 in orange on the real axis. So negative 3 on the real axis, boom. Okay, and the next one we have is the square root of negative 9. So again, the difference between these two is where that negative is. This negative is outside the radical sign, this one is inside the radical sign, so this one is an imaginary number. And so that negative under there, we're going to take that out and we're going to turn it into an I, and we're going to take the square root of the number that's left. So we have the square root of 9, which is 3. So we are going to put that on the imaginary axis, and we're going to put that one in purple. So we have negative 3i right here. And our last one, again, we have the square root of 9, which is a real number. That is 3, and we're going to put that in black on the real axis, and that one is right here.